So today we're going to take a look at Quickplan, which is an application for the iPad from FSWidgets. It's also available on other platforms, but I have the iPad version. Running this today on an iPad Pro, which is obviously the best case scenario, but it will run on a regular 9.7 inch iPad or indeed an iPad mini. And I'm going to use as a scenario to look at this program, part of the planning for I'm doing a round the world flight at the moment, and I'm currently parked in an airfield just at the bottom of the Suez Canal, and then the next leg is to fly across to Mumbai. So Suez is pretty much at the top left of the screen at the moment. Mumbai is bottom right or mid right of the screen. So we've got to fly across Saudi Arabia, the Gulf states, onto Karachi in Pakistan, and then kind of down the coast to Mumbai. It's about 2,500 miles, and we're going to do this probably in 5 or 6 separate flights. Bearing in mind I'm flying a Twin Otter, and we don't want anything to be longer than 500 or 600 miles really. So what do? So we're displaying one of the base maps for this. Now you noticed right away there when I scrolled it, or if I pinch zoom it out, it takes a while to fill in the extra data. All the maps in this product, and indeed all the other FSWidgets products, some of which we'll see perhaps in passing, use web cloud-based data, which essentially means that none of the map data is routinely stored on the device and it's loaded on demand. So you do have to be connected. I'm connected by Wi-Fi here. And that goes for the base maps as well as the add-on. There are add-on maps you can get. If I just show you that. So the base maps, if you tap the world symbol, we've got a selection of different kinds of base maps. The one we're displaying at the moment is VFR Aero. This is kind of reminiscent of Sky Vector, although not anything like as detailed or as comprehensive. Even in Sky Vector obviously concentrates on the North American charts, and it has the genuine TAC and WAC and sectional charts, but its world coverage is reminiscent of those charts without the same degree of data. So this VFR Aero map is a little bit like the Sky Vector world coverage, but not as useful actually for aviation. It doesn't have any of the aviation furniture, shall we say. Okay, so the data is cloud based. If we look at some of the other base maps, there's a map showing roads. You do get some terrain on there as well. We've got some variations of the roads. We've got terrain. That just to me looks like the road map with is it showing roads? Well, it's showing the terrain slightly more emphasized. We've got shaded terrain, which looks nice. It doesn't have any height data, so that's important for flight planning because we don't get the sector safe altitudes. Satellite data, this looks like photographic imagery, so there you go, you've got those, but I'm sticking with the VFR Aero at the moment. You can buy a range of add-on maps for this product. It's a separate purchase, and we have one installed as a demo. So if I bring that up, it's for Cuba. So if I actually go, now here's something. I wanted to go to Cuba. I don't know any airports in Cuba. The only search you can do is by the airport identifier, so I can't do that. If I was keen enough, I would flip over to, let's do that, Chrome, and let's just search for some airports in Cuba. Probably Havana would have an airport. Cuba airports, list of airports in Cuba. Thank you, Wikipedia. Well, let's just try one of these. MUVT. So if we go back to there and we search for MUVT, it's going to move us to Cuba. Oh, well, I thought it was waiting to stream the data there, but no, it's obviously just zoomed right in. Well, that's interesting. So we're looking. Looks like we're looking at that Oh, okay. Well, the behaviour of the map is a little bit inconsistent here. When you zoom in and out, sometimes strange things happen. But we do have that sample cube WAC chart. So it's a world, I can't remember what WAC stands for. But it's very familiar if you're used to flying around North America. So you've got all the sector safe altitudes, you've got the airspace, you've got the airports obviously, VORs, you've got the frequencies for the VORs and the and so on. So if you're going to fly in North America, you can purchase the charts for your flight planning, and there's a selection of charts for other parts of the world. It's a bit of a motley selection of charts, it has to be said. But let's get back to the plot. We're going to go back to the VFR Aero base map. We're going to go back to our current location, which is somewhere in the vicinity of Portside. That's the Suez Canal, you can see there. And we're going to plan our next trip. Now we do this by entering Quickplan mode. We do that by hitting the icon at the top left of the screen. Quickplan active. Now all I have to do is tap on the map. That's just a random place, and it gives me the option to add that as a, well, we're at the start of the flight plan, so the only option is to add as a departure point. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to depart from there. I'm actually parked at an airfield called, the name escapes me. Now this map doesn't show airports, but we do have the web data product. The web data product is an extra product that you can buy. It has worldwide data for airports. Well, here's the menu for it. Airports, and it distinguishes between land-based seaplane bases and heliports, but also VORs, NDBs and intersections. So if you buy this product, this menu becomes available, and we can toggle, let's say in this instance, airports on. So this overlays the map with the airport. If we, I suspect it's the this airport here. Yeah, Kibrit. That's Kibrit. That's where I ended my last leg of the trip. So we're going to use that as a departure. Now, interestingly enough, those airports are not labelled. So, you know, if I wasn't sure which airport it was, the only way to find it is to tap on each of these individually, and until I get the right one. Now, just another thing in passing, note once again, if you watch carefully when I tap on one of these, the airport diagram initially is a little revolving pair of arrows, showing that it's streaming that data off the web as well, or off the cloud if you want to be trendy about it. Anyway, that's the airport I want, Kibrit, where I'm departing from. So if I click departure, that now adds it to the map as a little picture. If we press this icon, it's difficult to explain which icon I'm pressing because there's no cursor on the iPad, but if I press the one that's like a grid, we can look at the waypoints that we have to date, and it's added that to the plan. Now if I click on that, all it does is it zooms in on that. It doesn't give me any extra information. So what do we want to do now? I'm zooming this map incidentally by pinching, as is the idiom on the Apple devices. Now the zoom is quantized, so you can't zoom it slightly. If I try and zoom it out slightly, it jumps to the next scale level. Now that makes some kind of sense because these are common and rational scales for maps and charts. So we're at 1 to 2 million there, 1 to 1 million, 1 to 500,000. So this is the same scale as a sectional chart in the United States or a VFR chart in the UK. Back to 1 million there. So that's the scaling. So the next waypoint is going to be probably an airport somewhere down the coast of Saudi Arabia. And now just something else to note here. When I zoomed out there, you'll notice that all those airports have clustered towards the centre of the screen. It looks like there's no airports anywhere else, but actually if I scroll it to the left, you'll see it fills in airports. What it seems to be doing is it seems to be drawing airports within a geographical radius, and that radius is actually rectangular. If you go to a very dense, well, we don't have any very dense locations over here. Well, there's one. You can see that's pretty much a rectangular collection of airports, and it does seem to be geographically constrained. If you measure that distance, it seems to be 240 miles in the long dimension, height in this orientation, and 188 miles across, and that's consistent. So it doesn't. Well, what it means is if you zoom in, so you're showing the map at a larger scale, that rectangle fills more of the screen. Now, don't ask me what the significance of those dimensions are, 270 by 188 miles. What I have noticed though, the aspect ratio matches roughly the aspect ratio of an iPad screen in portrait orientation, and if you set the zoom to 1 to 2 million, in portrait orientation the data pretty much fills the screen, and if I zoom out you'll see we start to see that rectangle again. So there may be some historical reason why that constraint is imposed on us, but it is a constraint and it does make things a little bit fiddly from time to time. But that said, the airport we're going to go, again we've got to, I think it's Medina is the airport that we want to go to, but because we can't see names we've just got to trial and error. It's one of these ones on the coast. It's not that one. In fact, this doesn't give you the free-form names either. Even when you click on them, all it gives you is the ICAO. So again, knowing it's Medina, actually, well, it gives. Okay, I'll take that back. In some cases, it does seem to give the long-form names. Anyway, OEMA is the one I'm looking for, and that's the one. So it's not Medina. Actually, wait a minute. Why do I think that was called Medina? Maybe it's near a town or a city called Medina. Yeah, okay, so it's the city is Medina. That's going to be our next waypoint. So I'll click the thing that says waypoint. Just as a, in passing, it gives information on the, this is airports we're looking at. If I click on runways, it gives me info on the runways. This one has got ILS information as well, so it gives me frequencies there. That's kind of handy. But for now we're going to click it as waypoint. We get the beginnings of a plan. And then the next thing I want to do is choose the next waypoint. Now that I've used the airport there because we're probably going to land at that airport. We're not just going to do a turn over that. That's about 500 miles already. Some big distances necessary out here. So we're going to fly from there pretty much out to the right, maybe to Riyadh. Now Riyadh is shown there as a city on the map, but again you can see there's no airport shown. If I scroll it to the right, it's going to start to fill in airports there. That's a real, rough edge in my estimation. And again, we can't tell which airport it is, but it's probably the one over the city. Actually, I don't think that is the one I wanted. OERK, I wanted that one, King Khaled. So again, we're going to put that as a waypoint, and we'll land at that. Now, coming back to that web data product, we do have the facility to show VORs as well, and we could use those as waypoints, which is actually what we want to do a lot of the time. Because we're over Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states here, these distances are so long that actually every leg's pretty much a stopover. Just one of the things you'll notice about the VORs, we get the same clustering. If I turn off the airports for a minute, there aren't as many VORs, so the clustering isn't quite as obvious. But again, that looks like there's only VORs in the middle of the screen, but if I move it to one side, you can see they're clustered around the centre of the screen. And the cloud and the clustering is in the same pattern. It's that geographical area, 270 by 188 miles. Interestingly enough, if we turn on intersections, we get the same clustering. Let me turn on intersections and airports and turn off VORs for now. We've got the same clustering with the intersections, but the area seems to be half the size, or in fact half the dimensions in each of the vertical and horizontal dimensions, so a quarter of the area. Again, there's probably a historical reason or some performance reason for doing that, but I don't know what it is. So coming back to the plot, turn on airports, We're going to turn off intersections and turn on VORs. Another rough edge here is that the VORs are kind of eclipsed in some cases by the airports. In other cases they're not. I don't know what that layering, I don't know how that makes sense. You see there, the airports are completely over the top of all the VORs. If I zoom out to the next level, we can't see any VORs. What's going on? Yeah, they're still switched on. Well, I mean, there's something strange about which one is prioritised according to which way you're zooming in or out. Or maybe it just takes a while when you zoom for that data to refresh itself. Okay, for now we're going to turn off the VORs and we're going to look for our next waypoint. You know, just it's worth pointing out here that I have a rough printout from a plan I made in SkyVector with all the waypoints on, or all the approximate waypoints. We may finesse this as we go, and I've also got SkyVector up on the screen on the PC. You know, to find the next waypoints according to my rough pre-plan, I find myself actually having to refer to, or it's convenient to refer to the SkyVector plan before I look at the Quickplan screen. Now there's something wrong there. You know, that tells me that there's not really enough information on this Quickplan screen to allow me to make a sensible choice of waypoints without reference to any external data. Anyway, that is as it is. So my next waypoint is probably going to be, you know, I mean, this is a case in point. I'm not sure. I think my next waypoint is going to be Dubai. Again, that's just off the edge of the populated area for airports. So if I scroll it across, it's probably that one, Dubai International. So we'll select that as a waypoint. Something which is not obvious on this map, but if you compare this to flight plans made in other flight planning products such as SkyVector, you'll find on something like SkyVector, or indeed on the flight planner within FSX, that on the longer legs the lines actually appear curved, and that's because they're flying great circles. And the flight planner in FSX knows about great circles, the GPS knows about great circles, SkyVector knows about great circles and displays the connecting arcs as arcs instead of straight lines. Quickplan doesn't. Now that has an unfortunate consequence, that if I were to, let's say, look very precisely at that leg of the trip from Suez to Medina, I can't make assumptions by looking at that line about the precise trajectory over the ground. I mean, this map's not detailed enough to really give a good example of that, but if we looked at that mountain range, for example, and concluded that, well, look, we're just squeaking between those two high points, so that's going to be a safety issue, that's going to get us into trouble, because in practice that straight line is not a correct depiction of the course that the aircraft's going to fly if we fly it on autopilot, say. So that's a real rough edge, and for a navigation product, you know, that's verging on unacceptable. But there you go. So we're at Dubai. Next leg of the trip, we want to go to Muscat, which is just down here on the right. That's a short leg, so what we're going to do there is we're going to, I think, put on the VORs Muscat, I don't know how you pronounce that, and we're going to use that as an en route waypoint, and then perhaps, where are we going to go after that? Can we make it to Karachi? I think we'll try that. That's going to be about a 700-mile trip. Depends on the weather at the time. You know, if we get tailwinds, we can make that comfortably with the fuel we can carry, but there's plenty of scope for diverting short of that. So again, you know, I've got VORs on. I want Muscat, but again, I have to move it in towards the centre of the screen before I can actually see that VOR. So we're going to tap on that. We're going to add that as a waypoint. Then we're going to go scroll over here so Karachi's airports become visible. And there's two airports there. They overlap. I want the one that's underneath there. So again, the only way to really do that sensibly is to zoom in till they distinct. There's three now, actually. In fact, it's probably not even that one that I want. It's that one there. OPKC Gina International, so that's what I want. Make that a waypoint. If I accidentally put that as an arrival, which you might be tempted to do if you were, if that was actually a stopover, that closes the flight plan and we're committed to it. We can't edit it. The flight plan in progress is this. Once we close it, we're stuck with it, and if we want to, we can't add new waypoints, we can't delete waypoints, we can't change the destination. So it's a very rudimentary tool. So from Karachi, the last leg of this trip is going to be to Mumbai, and finally we scroll into find the airport at Mumbai, and we'll land at Mumbai. Well, again, the VOR is not shown at this zoom level. I don't know why. Well, okay. Well, there's something, I don't know what's happening here. Let me turn off VORs. Mumbai International Airport, that's going to be our arrival. So I'm going to click that. Flight plan is now closed. If I click on it, I can do zoom to Quickplan. That sets the zoom to show the whole plan. So the options we have now are to save the flight plan. If I click save, and it's called by default HE34 to VABB, we'll go with that. We can choose the format, so I'm going to leave the default, which is FSX. I'm flying FSX, and if I click save, there we go. Here's another. I consider this to be a bit of a rough edge. We do have the Quickplan waypoint list there. It would be nice if we could print that. I can't see an obvious way to print that, so I suspect we can't. What can we do with it? If we click on it, well, that's interesting. So I clicked on one of those waypoints, and what we've got now is a blank screen. Okay, if I zoom, okay, if I fiddle around, we can get that map back. I don't really know what happened there. Let's try that again. If we click it to zoom to Quickplan, click on Riyadh. Okay, well that did a different thing. Well, it's got another version of the same glitch, or a different glitch, or a different collection of glitches. It's obviously tried to zoom in close to that waypoint, but it hasn't drawn correctly. Part of the map is missing out to the left. The track is incomplete. So if I try and zoom out, it begins to correct itself, but it doesn't really succeed. I'm progressively zooming out here. This is me just trying to drag the map now. Alright, well that's kind of fixed it now. So this map drawing is idiosyncratic, glitchy. I don't know to what extent this is because it's using cloud data. It's obviously using some third-party mapping engine under this. I think it's called Mapbox, and the reason I say that is that on one bizarre occasion I think I zoomed in or something on the map, and instead of a map I got a web page that was trying to sell me Mapbox, and I couldn't get rid of that without reloading the map. If you reload the map instantly, which is the little circular arrow to the top right, do you want to reload the map? Yes please. Well, it re-downloads the map. The web data is still available, but the flight plan's gone. If I click on the Quickplan waypoint, it's not there. I can load it by pressing the little star, and because I saved it, of course, I can reload it. HE34 VABB. It comes back. When it loads, it automatically zooms to show you the whole plan. But the Quickplan waypoints list has gone, and as far as I can tell, you can never get that back. Once you've saved your flight plan and then loaded it in from the saved data file, you can't get the list of waypoints back. I mean, I think that's an issue as well. Just one thing in passing there, there's an option there to change the Z order there. Now that's because you'll see at the moment the flight plan waypoints are shown as these little 4-pointed stars, and they're actually drawn above the web data icons, so you can shift those so that the waypoints are shown at the bottom Now that's that's obviously a refinement that's being considered necessary in the shaking out of the bugs of this product, but it would be nice if you could change that Z order for the different nav icons, because as I said earlier, that's a problem as well when you're making the plan. So now the other thing we can do with that flight plan is we can save it to, we can set this up with Dropbox, which I have done, link Dropbox to Quickplan, and we can send, if we go back to the flight plan screen, these are all the flight plans that are stored locally. If I click send plans, after a brief flicker there, it's synchronized that to my Dropbox account. So the plan that we've just created, HE34VABB, if I flip over and get up Dropbox, and if we go to files, apps, we'll see that each of the FSWidgets apps I have installed has created its own Dropbox folder. The one that we've just squirted the new flight plan to is Quickplan, and it has a subfolder called Flight Plans, and these are all the flight plans that I've used to date, but the new one, and it says modified 45 seconds ago, is HE34VABB. Now that's just, we don't need to see the contents of that, but that looks like it's the flight plans are stored in XML format. Now the value of sending things to Dropbox is that because we've got these other apps installed, we can share the flight plan between apps. So if I, for example, wanted to use this in the moving map product, which is IG Map, if I go back into Quickplan flight plans and I select the new flight plan, so I want to copy it, and I want to paste it into, choose different folder. If I flip over to IG Map HD, pretty much the same user interface with some differences, but notably if we click the flight plans button, if I go and sync, there you go, we've got the HE34 to VABB plan, and if I click on that, it loads it into the moving map.